right, thank you so much. Today is Monday, April 18th, 2022. The time is 6 p.m. At this time, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order with a roll call. Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Neal.
Here.
Councilmember Hughes. Here. Councilmember Rodriguez. Here. Councilmember Anderson. Vice Mayor Cortez. Here. And Mayor Walter. Here. At this time, we will rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you so much. At this time, we will go ahead and have our first call to the public. Call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the town council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be placed upon a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take action on any matter during an open call to the public unless those matters are properly noted for discussion and legal action. At this time, we do have one call to the public, Mr. Rusty Caldwell. Oops, please step up to the microphone, sir. Thank you so much for being here this evening. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
I'm Rusty Caldwell. I represent the Florence Modelers. You guys agreed to do our help us with the runway a couple months back. I want to say that Cactus Paving was out there today, bright and early, 6 a.m., and commenced working immediately. And let me tell you, they did one heck of a job. It is absolutely perfect, just exactly what we wanted. They got the smaller aggregate that we needed, and they got it laid down, smoothed out, broomed up. So as soon as their fogging crew is done with their project, in the next day or two, they'll come down and fog the runway, and it will be perfect. And we want to say thank you very much for approving that project and helping us get this done. That air park is a heck of an asset to this town. So that's what we wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening, too. And the events that you are all putting on at the Aero Park.
Pardon?
And thank you for the events that you have been putting on, the organization has been putting on at the park.
I can't hear.
She said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. We did partner with the community center during the spring break and had a good bunch of kids out there on one day, and it was great. And they had a ball, and half a dozen of us had a ball having them out there. The second day of that they were going to come out the next week, we were blown out. It's a model aircraft, and so the wind is a problem. Mm. So, but we're looking forward to maybe partnering with the community center again in the fall for their fall break and then the following spring break. So we'd like to say that was a blast.
That's fantastic.
And now with this smooth runway all the way across, it'll just be that much better.
Aww.
So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else either in person or online that would like to speak at this time? All right, there will be another opportunity. There will be a second call to the public at the end of the meeting. Item 6A is a presentation. We have a proclamation declaring April 21st, 2022 as Arbor Day in the town of Florence. I'm going to share a proclamation, and then I'm going to have our director, Miss Allison Flees, talk about Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our community increase property values, enhance the economic viability of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. So now, therefore, I, Tara Walter, Mayor of the Town of Florence, do hereby proclaim April 21st, 2021 as Arbor Day, and I'm going to turn it over to Miss Allison Feliz, and then I'll meet you down there.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. This Thursday at 4:30, we are inviting you all, as well as the public, to come and join us at Heritage Park as we plant a tree over there to celebrate Arbor Day. Also on Friday, the library will be hosting a bug hotel craft, which they're doing out of recycled objects. So that's how we're going to be celebrating Arbor Day this year in the town of Florence.
How many kids do you think are coming over to plant the trees from the program?
Probably about 12 or so.
Perfect. Yay. Thank you so much. That'll be so much fun. All right. We are going to just move to Miss Garcia. Did I understand correctly?
We are going to go ahead and move the Outstanding Employee Award to the next meeting. He was invited, but he does not appear to be here yet. So we'd love to have him come and be recognized before council at the next meeting.
If he arrives before the end, we would love to present him with the award. Otherwise, we'll just move it to the next.
Perfect.
Thank you. So item C is our third quarter fiscal year 21-22 financial presentation. Mr. Carl Dudding.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This is our third quarter revenue update and forecast. We'll start with our major general fund revenues. And I don't have my red marker like I did last time, but Our city sales tax, came in at 3.4 through March, and last year we were at 2.4, $1 million over it. And this is online sales continue to be strong. And you'll see we have a budget of 2.4, and we're projecting 4.2 million by the end of this year. And again, it's all online sales, and we contributed to COVID. Our property taxes came in at 884 versus last year of 800,000. Building permits is 866 over 996. We're on forecast to hit our budget of 1.2 million. Our state sales tax came in at 2.5 versus 2.1 last year. State income tax of 2.6 versus 2.9 last year. And we're on budget. We knew we would see a little drop there. And our auto license tax is 1.3 versus a 1.3 year over year. Our general fund revenue in total is 13.9 through March versus a 12.9 last year. Our expenditures are at 11.1 million versus 8.6 million last year. And again, this has to do with the Arizona CARES Act that we were able to provide to public safety to help offset those expenses. We're forecasting the year revenue to come in at 19.1 million versus a 16.8, and our expenditures 16.4 versus a 17.8. Our general capital fund through March, we had 519,000 versus a 2.2 million year over year. And we have a budget of 3.1 million. We believe we're going to hit our 3.1 million, but it might fall into July or August. These are sales taxes, so I can't really go into much detail, but we believe there's a timing, and we're investigating some, which we believe late payments. So that's under review. Our expenditures is a 659 versus a 186 year over year. And we're forecasting a 2.1. Our transportation funds, if you recall, we broke out HERF and TET this year, so it's kind of skewed. But if you compare your HERF and your TET together, we're at a 2.7 in revenue versus a 2.8. And our expenditures is a 1.8 versus a 2.3. Our budget and our forecast, we're coming right in line with anticipation. Our enterprise funds, our water revenue is a 2.9 versus a 3.3. Our expenses is a 2.7 versus a 2.2. Our wastewater, the sewer is the 2.4 versus a 2.9, and the expenses a 2.0 versus a 1.8. And the drop in our water and our wastewater revenue has to do with the decrease in our prison population. So we're seeing some drops there. Sanitation revenue is 856 over 816, and expenditures are 821 versus 799. We're right in line with target. Our expenses is roughly 275 lower than budget. Revenues are positive over expenditures, so enterprise funds are doing great. Our cash balances, currently we have 12.1 million liquid cash at National Bank. We have 181,000 for credit card funds in transit. We have 2 LGIP investment funds, one for 9,000 and then the second for 273,000. Our PFM, this is our major investment account, as March 31st has 77.8 million. And 5.5 million of that 77 is sitting in cash. And our police evidence has a 21,000.8. And those are fiduciary funds that they're not the towns, but we just want to report them to you. Some things going on in the finance department. So the permanent base adjustment has been submitted and approved by the Auditor General. And so the next phase is to move that into the pamphlet and then forward with the election. The FY 22-23 budget is in progress. But we're way ahead of schedule. Well, I don't want to say way ahead of schedule, but Becky's very comfortable where we're at with that. So we started the rate study for water and sewer, and we started the development impact fee study. Then they're on schedule. And my last comment, I apologize. I should have changed a word there, but I wanted to point out that our investment fund, we have a loss year to date in there, but it's an unrealized loss. It's not realized. If we had to liquidate that account, it would become realized. But year to date, we've made $435,000 in interest. And when you subtract out fees, it comes out to a $406,000. But I just want you guys to be aware, it has to do with the 1 to 3 year T-bills. And obviously we know that the market's fluctuating. So yeah, again, that's unrealized. And that's it. If you have any questions.
Council, do you have any questions? Overall, we're right in line with that presentation that Jim Rounds gave the other day as well. We are looking very strong economically.
Yeah, things are good.
So thank you very much.
You bet.
Item 7 is our consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A is renewal of the town's contract with PFM Asset Management, LLC, for investment advisory services. Item B is authorization to remove the stale policies from the policy library as follows. Fund balance policy adopted by resolution number 126210, replaced and added to the budget and fiscal policy section 8 fund balance, resolution 178221, and the disposition of municipal assets policy and procedure, December 15th, 2008, replaced by and added to the procurement policy, Article 9, Resolution 1779-21. Item C, approval of purchasing traffic control equipment from Sierra Transportation using the State of Arizona Cooperative Purchasing Contract 2001-25C-MCDOT TS poles and components in an amount not to exceed $74,586.36. Item D is approval of the February 7th Town Council meeting minutes. Item E is to receive and file the following boards and commission minutes. November 24th and December 29th, 2021, Historic District Advisory Commission meeting minutes. Number 2, December 9th, 2021, and March 17th, 2022, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. And item F is to accept the Register of Demands ending March 31st, 2022 in the amount of $2,542,039.72. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our consent agenda. Is there anybody in the public or on our council that would like any item removed at this time? Seeing no such movement, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under 8, new business, A, ratification of 3 intergovernmental agreements to provide dispatching service. Mr. Bruce Walls.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, good evening. I'd like to go ahead and tell you that the town of Florence is immune to what's been affecting public safety answering points, both statewide and nationally. And that is the retention of dispatchers and police officers. However, we are not. Recently, we lost 2 certified dispatchers, making the police department unable to deliver 24-hour service of dispatching to the town of Florence. What you see in front of you are IGAs. One with Pinal County for the police department to provide assistance in dispatching, and the other 2 are for Mesa and TRWC for the fire department to provide assistance in dispatching. These agreements are for 90 days. We anticipate within those 90 days, we'll be able to bring back up the Florence Public Safety Answering Point back to 24-hour service. Thank you.
Ms. Garcia, do we take each of these resolutions one vote at a time, or do we vote on them all together?
Because they are resolutions, you read the resolution by title and adopt it one at a time. We did do them by resolution because this is a historical event in Florence history, and so we want to make sure it's properly documented.
Okay. And I also noticed Chief Walter is listed under 2 and 3. Did you have anything that you would like to speak at this time?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, at this time I don't have anything to add, but if any questions come up when you get to those resolutions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Item A1 is resolution number 1820-22. Discussion, approval, disapproval of adopting a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving and ratifying an intergovernmental agreement for law enforcement radio dispatching services with Pinal County, Arizona, and declaring an emergency. It is open for discussion, approval, disapproval at this time. Council?
No question.
You have a question, Councilmember Anderson?
No questions.
No question. Okay, we need a motion.
I do. I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, that these are 90-day agreements. They're not going to be extended beyond the 90 days, that at the end of the 90 days, we will be servicing our citizens.
Yes, ma'am. These are only for 90 days. And after the 90-day point, if not sooner, your Florence PSAP will be back to 24/7 operations.
Thank you. Lisa had her hand up.
Ms. Garcia?
I just want to say that just for sake of the agreements as they are presented to you and before you, the Pinal County agreement is for 90 days. The Mesa agreement is for a 60-day agreement with a one-time 30-day extension. On Thursday of last week, we did put in for the one-time extension. That would make that to be 90 days. And for the Topaz agreement, that is actually a 120-day agreement. And as part of our due diligence in doing our homework and making sure that when we present to the council in futures, we've also asked for a complete cost analysis for what would happen if Florence was ever in this situation again or needed to provide alternate services. We are getting that information so that we can have a detailed financial analysis in case we need to come back to council with such items.
Councilmember Hughes?
So where are the fees that are associated with this 90 days, are they coming out of each department?
This is, as this was an emergency, we did not have notification. We're very grateful to our partners who are coming in to assist with this. These are coming out of manager contingencies.
Okay.
Seeing no other questions or comments, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 1820-22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2, resolution number 1821-22. Discussion, approval, disapproval of adopting a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving and ratifying an intergovernmental agreement for fire dispatch services within the city of Mesa and declaring an emergency. Are there any questions or comments, as now it is open for discussion, approval, disapproval?
I just need clarification. So we don't know how much this is costing us?
It's a per call agreement.
Mhm.
And with actual costs as are required for services and for any type of engineering services and equipment. And so while we have an estimate of what it's going to call or what's it going to cost, it's based on per call. So if we have an extremely high volume of calls that 1 month, it's going to cost more. And if there is not as many as calls, it will be less.
So can you share the estimate, the low to the high probability? I mean, just so we have a general idea of, is it going to cost us $30 a call, or is it going to cost us $300 a call?
In the Mesa agreement, let me get there.
And I'm like, in general, for all of them, and then I guess I don't understand why it's coming out of manager's contingency and not out of fire and police department budgets, because wouldn't they normally pay for?
If it's the same amount of cost, so what we're doing is we are currently hiring, and so Chief has, how many do you have now, Chief? 6 dispatchers that are on staff and being hired, but we still have someone else covering our costs. So what we said is that we're going to go back and explore the opportunity of having that paid for, but if it does not fall over, but if it falls over, then it'll come out of manager contingencies. Cliff is looking it up for me. Are you in Mesa?
Well, it says right here that police would be $28.89 a call. Fire would be $27.50 a call.
And then there's a subsection that includes
$133.
for Mesa hourly rate, and it's on page 17 of the IGA.
Thank you, council member, for that.
Just hate when somebody reads instructions.
Yes, I did not read instructions for that comment.
Are there any other questions or comments, or are you looking something up? Okay.
And for these agreements too, we will provide consolidated bills showing how much our call volume was and what our expenses ended up being for each month.
I think they were saying about calls.
Are you calling for a motion?
No, I'm waiting on a motion. I just don't know if anybody has any other questions, and I don't want to take away anybody's opportunity to ask question or comment.
No.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Why are there 2 for fire? Are they going to Mesa and a different place?
Mayor, Councilmember Hughes, I can answer that one. So with the Mesa Regional Dispatch Center, they are the actual dispatch center for a larger cooperative. So there's several cities that are involved with the cooperative. That cooperative actually owns the equipment and all of the different radio channels and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to have an agreement with the city of Mesa for the dispatchers and the service that they provide. And then also with the TRWC, that's the long name, that's for all of the services that come along with that.
So there'll be pricing from 2 different entities for fire?
No, these two agreements come through the city of Mesa. The city of Mesa is going to be billing us for those services that are outlined there on the page that you have. And that's what we'll be responding to. That's where the payments will go.
Am I missing the Topaz, the
So-
third one?
The Topaz agreement, think of it as an equipment agreement. The city of Mesa they have a cohort of cities that go in and they all belong to this one dispatch center. And together they own all the equipment. That's called Topaz. And so we are getting the equipment with one agreement and the use of their cellular networks,
So,
and the other is for dispatching service.
right,
so
so
one's
the
related
pricing
to
is
the
broken two parts for fire. So there'll be, and that will total still one number?
That will still total one number,
Okay.
but it would be broken down.
Okay. That was my question.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, with that, we need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve resolution number 1821-22 as
Second.
read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item 3 is resolution number 1824-22, discussion approval, disapproval of adopting a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving and ratifying an emergency networking use agreement between the town of Florence and the city of Mesa to belong to the Topaz Regional Wireless Cooperative Network and join the town of Florence, and declaring an emergency. Are there any other questions or comments on this? My comment is in regards to all three. I just want to say thank you to the cooperating agencies for stepping in and helping us out in a time of need. I appreciate Ms. Garcia's comments in regards to making sure that we're looking at the entirety of the picture to ensure that we have safety for our citizens, our community, our employees. And I look forward to the additional information coming forward.
I think it's important for the public to understand that at the end of the day, as long as somebody's answering that phone and dispatching these two agencies out, right now, that's the most important thing for us, the safety of our citizens. And so, yeah, they're not here in Florence, but your call's going to be answered, and that's the most important thing, in my opinion.
With no other questions or comments, we do need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve resolution number 1824-22 as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, and that motion carries. Item B is ratification of purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, in the amount of $235,000. Chief Walter.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, what we're bringing you tonight is a ratification of the purchase of the self-contained breathing apparatus. Just a little history. That's a very long name for what we call SCBAs. That's what we wear on our back. Hopefully the pictures help provide a little clarity as to what we're asking for. But that is it is the primary defense for our firefighters when they're entering into a hazardous environment, or what we call IDLH. For the last 3 years, we've worked very closely with Jennifer Evans to make this happen for our department through grants. We've gone through several different grants to have this funded, because as you can see, that's a large impact financially. This year, working through the capital improvements budget, we were able to actually, Miss Becky Galeen was able to find capacity within the upcoming budget to be able to work this in. And what happened since then is, as interim town manager Lisa Garcia and Becky started looking at current year capacities and future year constraints, they made a decision that if this project was able to be complete, that we would go ahead and try to move forward with it in this budget year. One more caveat as we work through this is when we called back to update the quotes that we had for the project, we found that within a very short period of time of our conversations, actually it was about a week, that the manufacturers were projecting I believe it was a 10% increase on the SCBAs that we had selected. So we worked through it. I don't want to say it wrong, but I believe we worked through it as an emergency, correct? And that's why we're here tonight, to ask to ratify that. And I would be happy to answer any other questions.
Councilmember Mendoza?
I just want to thank you for the pictures. I like to see what we're purchasing, so thank you for having that on this.
All right, I don't see any other questions or comments. With that, we need a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the ratification of purchase of self-contained breathing apparatuses in the amount not to exceed $235,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item C, discussion, approval, disapproval of entering into a contract with DWA Construction Company, LLC to complete Americans with Disabilities Act sidewalk improvements on South San Carlos Street in an amount not to exceed $199,000, $958.25. Mr. Chrysalis.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. This is our second installment of CDBG funds related to ADA improvements. So this project will remove barriers for the disabled and for school children who are trying to get to their school in a ADA compliant either ramp or driveway. So this project will be replacing 14 driveway ramps and then 10 ADA ramps, and then it'll be approximately 3,000 square feet of sidewalk as well. The town ended up utilizing the federal government's, I think it's small purchase policy, which is under $250,000, to receive quotes on this work. And so we were able to comply with that requirement. We actually probably reached out to almost 20 different contractors. Right now, material shortages are just crippling the construction industry. So a lot of them just declined to bid. Are there any questions on this project?
Are there any questions or comments on this project?
No.
With that, we need a motion.
I make a motion, we enter into an agreement with DWA Construction Company, LLC, to complete Americans with Disability ADA sidewalk improvements on South San Carlos Street in the amount not to exceed $199,958.25.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item number D is discussion, approval, disapproval of entering into a contract with DWA Construction Company, LLC to complete Americans with Disabilities Act sidewalk improvements on East Ruggles Street in an amount not to exceed $173,336.51.
I want to say something that I forgot in the last item. I'm saddened to see that the Aero Park Modelers Association left. One of my members of staff was on site at 6 a.m. this morning. So our street superintendent, Dan Cisco, attended. He came back with the biggest smile, so happy about the project, just on how great it looked, how perfect it was, and how smooth it was. So on our staff level, we also thank you for allowing us to participate. It was a great project. We learned some things, we built new relationships, so I wanted to say thank you about that. This project is essentially the same as described. This will be our third installment of CDBG related to ADA improvements. Essentially, this one is 14 non-compliant handicap ramp, 11 driveways, and 840 square feet of sidewalk, and this is along Ruggles between North Court Street and North Canal Street. All of the things are identical between the two projects.
Council, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Proceed.
What's the timing on this, Chris?
I believe we have to be substantially complete by the end of June.
Good.
And this is our absolute best effort to make that happen. But if we continue to have shortages, it's going to be very difficult for me to yell at my contractor if there's no materials out there. So they've said they are calling multiple companies to try to secure the concrete for this project. I'm hopeful that it will, but unfortunately, there's just nothing I can do to guarantee that.
I just like to see it get it done before the next school year.
Yes. Like I said, the end of this like grant cycle is supposed to be the substantially completed by June 30th. So that's the goal. The goal is to be done.
All right, with that, we need a motion.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, discussion approval, disapproval of entering into a professional services contract with AJP Electric, Inc. for construction services utilizing the City of Scottsdale's JOC contract 2019-194 COS in an amount not to exceed $320,160. Mr. Chris Ellis.
I want to first say that Ms. Garcia's comment about me being a big spender has gained a lot of traction. I've heard a lot of jokes from staff regarding this, so I think she's gotten her money's worth out of that. This project is to remove and transfer the equipment from the existing traffic signal on Hunt at the hospital/ALA school up to the Franklin intersection of Hunt Highway. The existing traffic signal does not meet warrants. It was difficult for staff to research and find the reason why that signal was ever built. We took on a design contract after we studied the intersection to determine what was the best possible outcome for this. So we looked at interconnecting the two traffic signals, leaving them both out there, removing them, and we monitored everything from level of service, benefits, time travel. We looked at all of those. Cost was not our driving factor in all of this, but in the end, having two traffic signals that closely spaced, even while interconnected, will not function well in the future. It just will not. So the ALA school, as part of their project, performed a traffic impact analysis. This was identified in their study that there was a need for a traffic signal. Walker Butte 300 also did a traffic impact analysis for this area, which they're utilizing the Franklin Road intersection. Their study also shows that a traffic signal is required in here. So we have their two, and then the town's independent study to verify if a traffic signal and where it belonged. With that being said, the goal of this project is to get it done before school opens. So we're utilizing the existing poles, but we are buying some new hardware. So the existing signal is automatically actuated, but it's done through tubes in the ground, which tend to fail and tend not to be as accurate. So we'll be placing that with a modern camera signal, new internally illuminated street signs. The cabinet that is out there, I'm not even aware that there is existing people in the state that can work on it. It's that old. I believe we got that as leftovers from the city of Scottsdale way back in the day. So we're going to be replacing that with a more modern cabinet, battery backup, and controller. Are there any questions on this project?
Any questions? Seeing none, we need a motion.
Go
ahead if you have a question.
So I think one of the major concerns driving northbound on Hunt Highway is when the school is starting or in early morning when they're dropping off, there tends to be a giant line out of that left turn lane that comes into the right, other I guess straightaway lanes on Hunt Highway. When we move this stoplight up to the Franklin, how are you anticipating traffic to better flow through there to be able to turn left? Or how are you going to be able to control that traffic so that it doesn't cause any type of accidents?
So the northbound left turn movement is your concern, is that my understanding?
Yes, I've actually voiced this before to staff, that if you're coming into ALA, sometimes there will be backed up traffic in that left turn lane, so much so that it intersects into the straightaway lanes to continue northbound on Hunt Highway before their school starts. After school, it doesn't so much matter because they tend to just sort of filter out into the southbound lane since it's a one-way on that side. However, northbound does get backed up in the morning where to the only right two lanes, because at that part there's three. The other two lanes will be the only ones that are open. So just concerned about when we move this stoplight, how are you anticipating that traffic flow not to cause an accident when people are going to be going a little bit faster rate of speed up to Franklin? So they would have more, higher rate of speed at that point if it does get backed up into the straightaway lanes.
The way that the signal currently operates, it doesn't allow you to create really gaps. So by placing the signal further upstream to the north, it will actually, when that turns red, will allow to have a freer movement on the northbound left turn lane. That is what we did. We did look at those exact things. So that is what the traffic engineer is saying, is the actual gaps created will be better than what is there, and that traffic signal doesn't create the gaps that are needed to turn in.
Are you anticipating that follow-up question. Are you anticipating with the overall design of the new high school that the traffic flows will continue to be that way? Or are you anticipating that they will be migrating up to the more Franklin entrance? And are they going to be able to loop back around to the elementary school as well from that intersection?
In all my years dealing with traffic, it's really tough to determine what an improvement is going to do to the local circulating traffic. Will some people go all the way up and make a U-turn? It is possible. I don't see that as probable. It is possible. Like I said, with the gaps that are created, it should be a safer movement. And I definitely can follow up with a more formal written response. But that is my memory of what our analysis showed, is those gaps that are created make it a safer and higher level of service.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, my biggest concern obviously is the public safety. And I know that when you see a stoplight, whether it's green or it's red, you're going to inherently sort of slow down or at least be a little bit more mindful of traffic flow. So when you do see that backup, it allows you to divert to the further right lanes so you can avoid it. So my concern is that if you move it further north, you're not going to have that slowdown or that visual. So I look forward to your follow-up response to that.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So those street lights, once you set them, I've always wondered this actually. Once you set them, can you adjust them, or are they just set for life?
We can adjust every parameter known to man.
There we go.
We can adjust. I don't know if you saw, I think it was Sal DeCiccio. He just recently put something in the newspaper about wanting the city of Phoenix to alter their signals to have 4.7 seconds of yellow time to meet the federal standards. So they can adjust the yellow time. And there's all these engineering guidelines for how we set them. We can adjust the all clear red. So typically studies have shown that if you have 2 seconds of all red, that you have less fatalities. We can adjust that. We can adjust the max green time, the minimum green time. And we adjust Hunt and Attaway probably multiple times a year, trying to get it to operate more efficiently. And until we can acquire that right of way and put those turn lanes in, there's limited things that we can do on that intersection. But that's a perfect example on how often we modify our signal timing in some of these areas, multiple times a year. Probably doesn't happen that often at the city of Phoenix, but I would say that at least once or every 2 years, that the major cities are looking at their intersections and reevaluating signal timing.
So how long do you monitor a new stoplight to make sure you don't need to modify it before you just let it go?
Well, regardless if you have a short green time and a long yellow time, for example, it doesn't make the intersection necessarily unsafe if it's done to a national standard. But when we energize it, we will be out there for hours upon the initial startup. And then someone like myself will probably leave, and then we'll have a member of staff until probably close of business that day. We'll probably have someone out there that entire day. Then the next day, we'll monitor the AM peak and the PM peak, probably for 3 to 4 additional days, just to make sure, are there any additional tweaks that we can make to that. We'll work with the original traffic engineer who actually designed and sealed the timing plan. Not that we have to, but it's just something that we do to protect ourselves, the original registrant. So yes, it's definitely an ongoing process. And kind of to address Ms. Rodriguez, I apologize. All of these things that are traffic related are something that we continually monitor multiple times a year. So once that school goes in, it's not set it and forget it. It'll be something we'll constantly monitor out there. We have monitored that AL school, I bet you, no less than 8 or 9 times since I've been here, doing full morning counts, full PM counts, full pedestrian counts. And we'll continue to do that at the new location as well to monitor it. And we'll monitor the old location as well and seeing if there are any type of side effects that we didn't anticipate, and then making an adjustment to that. Yeah, traffic is probably the most gray of all the sciences as far as the human interaction and how it takes place is different every intersection. So,
I have a question.
Hang on, wait, she just had one more. I'm keeping it in tally. Go ahead.
Sorry, that just sparked another memory for me and something else I wanted to bring up. So when you're moving this intersection, I have seen children riding their bike, riding their scooter, walking to school, to the elementary school. If you're moving this intersection further north, those crosswalks will no longer be really usable because a child can't cross the street there. With that vacant land there, how are we anticipating that the child's going to then cross the street, get across the essentially desert to get to the elementary school?
I probably need to coordinate with the school to see how they see that going and what they're also going to do to accommodate that. This is obviously, even with the traffic signal, having a child in an intersection with the traffic that we have on there and the speeds was never an ideal situation. That's why we generally don't allow elementary schools to be built next to arterials as a general rule. It's not something that's done in an urbanized environment. That school obviously existed before I was here. They bought that land. That's where it is located. So we'll have to work with the school as well to figure out how and what we can do to configure that. I have built a few different hawk signals in my life and a few different signals that were built for pedestrian use. And unless you put a hawk signal literally at the location where people are crossing, they will not use it. McDOT has had this problem. City of Phoenix has had this problem. This is not a me problem. This is a normal situation where if they think we're going to put it on the quarter section or the half section, if it isn't exactly where they're crossing, I've watched kids less than 200 feet from a hawk signal just cross all day at the Legacy Elementary School in Maricopa, just constantly crossing. So that's been a challenging for the implementation. Not that I don't like hawk signals. I don't think they're the most intuitive thing to use for the first time user. The ping ponging reds, and I just see a lot of confusion with it. I think it's a great idea, but it's not necessarily my favorite idea.
Yeah, like you said, it's human behavior that they're going to take the fastest route to the school. So I don't see that you'd ever be able to put a traffic person or coordinator, a traffic coordinator from the school in the middle of a highway either. So I think that needs to be addressed. Very vital for me personally.
I'll reach out to the school district this week.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes, are these lights sensitive to the load, to the traffic load? Like, at the school, during school session, there'll be very little traffic coming in and out of the school. So will that light sit there and go on and off all day long, or is it sensitive to the need for traffic coming out of the school to, turn on and off?
So somewhat in the same vein as my response to Councilmember Neal, the signal can be programmed. What we have at Hunt and Attaway, for example, is called time of day. So we can block out certain windows and have longer max green times. And then at other times of the day, we can shorten that up. So we'll be making those kind of modifications on this traffic signal as well, so that we don't, just in case, in theory, you never want to have a long minimum green time on a left turn because there might only be one car in there. But in theory, you want to have a long max because if there's 17 cars in the left turn lane, you want to be able to exercise those cars out of the intersection.
Well, I would think with the camera system, you should be able to control that variable.
You are absolutely. So you have what are called extensions. So you have two zones, and when the car crosses that first zone, it adds 2 more seconds to that left turn lane until there's no more that cross there up to the maximum green time.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right, with that, we need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve agenda item 8E.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. And that motion carries. All right, our next agenda item is item F, discussion approval, disapproval of fiscal year 22-23 employee benefit program with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona for medical, dental, life, and Avisa's vision insurance, Teladoc for 24/7 physician access benefits, Jorgensen's Brook Group for Employee Assistance Program, Aflac for supplemental group insurance products, and Infinisource to administer or Section 125 flexible benefit account plan. Ms. Catherine Wilson.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. This evening, Eric Johnson from Gary Johnson and Associates is here to present the fiscal year 22-23 benefit renewal. Mr. Johnson.
All right, we'll see how technologically advanced I am. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Eric Johnson from GLJ, coming here to talk to you today about the benefits program for this next coming year. Let's see here. Give you a little quick history. You probably received some information on this prior to this meeting. The renewal first came out on the medical side at 5.63%. The town was running a little warm at the time. And this was back in January when you guys are asking for budgeting numbers. After reviewing the large claims report, the most recent one, and having talked to some of the members on the management team, and looking at holistically what was going on with your medical plan, I recommended that the management team not take this out to market due to some of the situations going on, which I don't want to necessarily say it out in public here. So, but that being said, timing is everything, and so we went back to Blue Cross and said, hey, if we decide not to take this out to market, can we get some sort of a discount? In which they did. And so in the end, Blue Cross Blue Shield dropped their medical renewal down to a 2.8% increase. Right now, medical trend is closer to about 10%. So a group, when you're going out to market, the average employer is getting somewhere around a 9 to 10% increase. You guys are well below that with this no bid offer. No bid meaning if we decide to go out to market, the renewal would then go back up to 5.63, and that's what would I have to disclose to the other carriers to see where they would come back with an option. Any questions on the medical piece so far?
Just want to say that's fantastic. So very proud of you. Good job.
All right. It's part of the Blue Cross Blue Shield medical plan. You also have a couple other bundled products, which also gives us some discounts off of the medical. One of them being your dental. So your dental went up at a 2.93%. That's about an average increase on dental, but this also secures about a 2% discount off of your medical. So that's about a $20,000 in savings. So it offsets any of the increase that the plan is receiving. Your plan design is a little richer than most. And what I mean by that is the average plan out there has about $1,000 benefit, and the employee only cost is about $35. And so the plan here is actually a $1,750 benefit, and you guys are just cracking the $30, almost $31 this year. So you're well under the market and the pricing and so forth. So this one here with the discounts, it was better to keep it bundled and not take this portion of it out to market as well. And also the life insurance is the last part of that bundled piece. Gives a 0.5% off of the medical plan. It's a 14 cents per thousand. Produces about $5,000 discount off the medical to the town each year. And they came back at a rate pass. You really don't get rates cheaper than 14 cents. It's really hard to do. So once again, this one we did not take to market. Avisus, still under a rate guarantee, a 2-year rate guarantee. So there's a rate pass there. If you still wanted to move this out to market, we could. They've been really good to you. You guys have been with them a long time. And since we're still at a zero increase, we just did not take this one out to market this year. Some of the other benefits that you have is your telemedicine. Utilization on this, guess what, has gone up quite a bit. As the pandemic has really kicked in, Teladoc has seen almost a 700% increase in utilization nationwide. We actually tap in and we get actually a much lower price here. Average Teladoc is somewhere between $6.25, $6.50, all the way up to about $7 per employee per month. We have a national program with a law association, and we were able to use that relationship there to get you a much lower rate initially. And you're still, with the proposed increase from Teladoc this year to $4.95, still well under what it would cost if you were just trying to buy it on your own. Let's see here. You have your EAP program with Jorgensen Books. They gave you a no rate increase. Utilization is up about 15 to 20% over last year. If you're in this EAP program is for counseling, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, mental health counseling. Also provides counseling for your first responders, fire, and the police. They have more than 6 visits. Everyone else has 6 visits. They have more than that when they experience something that's tied to a post-traumatic stress event and so forth. So as of right now, there's no increase. I will note that Jorgensen Brooks is in the process of being purchased by a much larger EAP program, and so we're still hoping to see some good things come out of that. So we're still monitoring that. But as of right now, it's a no increase. Everything is staying the same. And then last but not least on these slides is Infinisource, also known as iSolve, is your pre-tax plan. They also do your FSA administration, which allows the employees to put money aside for medical expenses, dental, vision, those types of things, avoid federal, state, and FICA taxes. So it's a pre-tax plan, saves them some funds. And they bumped that up a little bit. I went out to two or three other FSA administrators, and that pricing is right close to where you're at. They were at around a $5.15 to about a $6.10 range is what it costs. So you guys are on the lower end of the scale there. All right. Any questions?
Any questions, council?
No.
You touched on 2 already that I had, but just one that I had in looking, and this might be more internal from Catherine. When I read over the agenda, I had noticed that even though it was a 2.9% increase, the spread looked a little bit differently to me. So for example, I'm on page 392 on the agenda. It's not posted up as
No,
a,
it's not.
and I don't have it in front of me, so.
Okay, it has to do with the following chart illustrates monthly Blue Cross, Blue Shield, PPO, medical, HSA, dental, and vision coverage premiums paid by employees. So what I appreciate, like for the employee only, it stayed completely paid in full. For employee and spouse, it looks for PPO, there was an increase of $11. Employee and children, a decrease in $7. Employee and family was an increase of $89. Then you move over to the Blue Cross Blue Shield HSA portion. And it looks like employee and spouse increased by $3. Employee and children increased by $3. Employee and family increased by $7. And then dental and vision, basically there was no change. So that one number just kind of stuck out, and I thought that was so much higher than the others. I didn't know the breakdown of how the insurance was utilized across the board from all of our employees within the town. Like, did they choose more of the PPO plan versus the HSA plan? And how did that determination of the different increases for each section come about?
Gotcha. So I believe what you're referring to is why some tiers got a little bit bigger increase and some of them got less when it comes to what the employee's paying their portion of it. Okay, great question. The way you guys fund your contributions, you pay 100% of the employee-only cost, then you pay 78% of the dependent costs. But when the carrier's coming up with the rate, when I'm talking about a 2.8% increase, that's overall. But their actuaries will actually, based on how many people are in what plan and the volume, that's how they make their adjustments to the pricing. So yeah, one tier may actually see a 3 or 4% increase. The other one might see a 1% increase, but overall it's a 2.8. So the issue you have at that point is right now you guys have traditionally always used that 100% contribution by the employee and then 78 for the dependent costs. And when the carrier actually builds their rating factors the way they do, sometimes some employees get hit a little harder than others do. The only way you can accommodate for that is if you were to try and go away from that 100%, 78% model, but then you have employees who may say, time out, that's not being fair because now you're paying 82% of their premium on the dependent side and I'm only getting 67% when you're trying to offset that. So the numbers that we sent to you were based solely upon the carrier doing what they do and then using what you guys have done in the past, which is that 100%, 78% contribution model. Does that answer your questions?
That does, except for I didn't know if you had the breakdown of how many employees are essentially, like which plan is utilized more? Maybe you could answer that.
On the screen there, if you look at the traditional PPO, you can actually see the census there. It's right next to the numbers. I'm sorry. So you'll see that you have 35 people on the employee-only coverage for the traditional PPO. You've got 15, and then 41 families doing that. And then on the other side, the HSA is actually doesn't have near as many people on it. That's breaking out to 6, 4, 2, and 6. And so when they do a little rate action, depending on how people are enrolled, a small rate action makes a big difference over the overall cost of the plan.
I will say one thing, you've done amazing by us over the years, and I know that our employees are grateful. I don't feel that it's going to sway that much. Again, you're looking at a monthly cost, and when you're talking over 12% originally down to 2.9%, I just wanted to be able to explain it for anybody who had questions of why is one area impacted more than the others, but you justified it and, shared that insight. Councilmember Rodriguez.
I just wanted to clarify that for the public that the rates that you're seeing here is not the rates that our employees would pay.
The rates you're seeing there, that's the full blown, that's the full cost.
Full cost, exactly.
Right.
So, because when we're looking here in the agenda,
Yes.
it illustrates, exactly.
Yes.
It illustrates the monthly cost and the highest amount, this is employee plus family, that is on any of the charts there for the next fiscal year would be $338.62, and that was for the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO medical plan. So, and that was the monthly expenses. So I just want it to be clear for anybody, especially if they're looking at a prospective employer. I don't want them to see these amounts and have a heart attack. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same
Yes,
page.
so the numbers on that page that you're referring to, then when you break that down into your pay periods, it's actually a little bit more palatable. But that's, yeah, these are, what I'm seeing here, these are the monthly rates, taking the employer's portion out. What you see on the screen is the full picture of
Correct.
total costs.
Yes, thank you
Exactly.
for explaining that for the public as well.
Well, and it also benefits the insurance company because if you have affordable insurance that your employees and families can access, then they tend to keep up on their health, which helps decrease the buildup of health issues that can happen over when we neglect going to the doctor and take care of routines and exams and things of that nature. So essentially it balances out and it does create a better quality of life even for the individual and the community.
Mayor, you're exactly right. If I were to pull out the claims data for the last 12 to 18 months, you would see during the pandemic, a lot of the services had to be put off. And then you had approximately about 9 months ago, starting about April, May, and June of last year, just after you had renewed, pent-up demand where people started utilizing the plan because they had been putting things off for so long. And so you actually saw a spike in claims. That's part of the reason why we're holding back on going to market this year, because we're waiting for some of that data to kind of fall off the books, for the lack of a better word, which makes it more palatable for you to go out to market.
Are there any other questions or comments? And I want to thank you for being here this evening to explain this to everybody.
Not a problem. Any questions at all? Otherwise, I will sit. I'm sure you guys got more things to do, so.
Talk with you all night. All right. With that, we need a motion.
Make a motion, we approve item 8F as read.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 9 is call to the public. This is our second call to the public this evening. Is there anybody from the public that would like to share anything, either in person or online? All right, I see a no. So we are going to go ahead and close our second call to the public. This is our first call to the council for current events only. Councilmember Mendoza.
Excuse me. I was not able to go to the ribbon cutting ceremony of Peyton's treasure store there. I mean, it's a beautiful store, but the day before we had 2 meetings and we had some time between them. So I went down there and I met with the family. They gave me a tour of the entire store and what's coming next. A beautiful family. I'm so excited of what they've got to offer for our town, and I'm glad they're with us. So if you guys get a chance, go down there and see the wonderful stuff they have, and be ready for the chocolate that's coming, because I'm ready for that one. So that's all I got.
Flowers and chocolate on Main Street, right? Flowers and chocolate on Main Street. Councilmember Hughes.
I have nothing.
And Councilmember Rodriguez.
I was able to attend, as many of you were, the events put on by the chamber, and it was fantastic to hear such great news. Consultant's last name was Rounds, if I remember correctly. Jim Rounds, there you go. He did a fantastic job. It was great networking with all of the local community members, as well as people who came in from other areas of Arizona to see what Florence is up to. So it's great that everybody's excited about all the new things that are coming, and we've got some great new businesses that are coming in downtown, and so much growth and development. And so I'm just excited to see us moving forward. And yeah, I think we've got a good thing going at this point. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Neal.
I just wanted to give Chris Salas a shout out. He helped us out over at the school. We have a 3-way stop that I don't think nobody in Florence that goes that way has ever driven a car before, because it ought to just be bumper cars, but he came over there and helped us out with it. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Anderson,
I have nothing tonight.
Vice Mayor Cortez.
I don't have anything tonight either.
Well, I have just very brief. Roger Beatty is in the audience. He is our chamber director. I want to say thank you. He collaborated and put on an amazing Greater Florence state of the town, trying to make sure that I kept the name and flow. And it was very well attended. It was the first hopeful annual. And, you know, we had developers come and speak at the panel, as well as Jim Rounds gave the economic forecast. And I had an opportunity to speak as well. So I appreciated that opportunity to give the update of all of the amazing things that are happening in our community. As you know, we're still on our recruit for our next town manager. Ms. Garcia is doing a fantastic job in the interim role. We are thankful for everything that you do and all of the communication that has occurred. And I also want to say thank you to both of our chiefs for making sure that, again, our citizens are well taken care of, that our calls are being answered, and service delivery is continuing on without any interruptions. With that, we do have an executive session this evening. We need a motion.
Make a motion.
Sorry, go ahead. All night, girl. Make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. And that motion carries. Thank you so much.